Okay, so welcome. This is our first Be Healthy meeting. I'll just quickly touch a little bit more on my background. So basically, Gwen, who you've probably seen in the videos, and I think I talked about this in the video, but I'll just, in case you haven't seen it, I'll catch you up. I really wanted to be healthy, and I had like no idea where to start. I didn't really have a lot of role models in my life that were super healthy, so I was very confused. And then Gwen came and joined production crew, and I friended her, and like via social media, I like stalked her for a year and was like, she's so healthy, I want to be healthy. So then I begged her to come live with me for a year. And I know you think I'm joking, but I literally like text her every day, like, come live with me, come live with me. And then she finally gave in. And now I feel like I'm way different. I eat way healthier. I think about what I'm eating. I think about how it's going to affect my day. Like yesterday I was really lazy and I didn't want to make anything. And I was like, nope, you are making yourself a smoothie and you're going to eat it because you need to do that. So it's just been a really fun and interesting thing, and I owe Gwen so much. So now, everybody, I'd like to have you all meet Gwen.
Hi, everyone. This is I was just telling Casey earlier, this is amazing because it's such a fun little chain here. I love being this for Casey, and also I get to have my favorite person ever on here, Timaree, who you get to hear from today. She has been such a role model for me, and I actually did meet her on a plane. You never know who you're going to meet. She is a registered dietitian and an exercise physiologist with a master's degree in public health. And she's also a professor at Consum's River College. I think that's how you say it. So she is wonderful, and she's an expert on everything nutrition, and she's so fun to listen to. So I'm so happy to have her here today to kind of go through a few of her resources and just give you a little bit of advice, because it's truly her passion, and I'm sure you'll see that. So welcome, Timaree.
Hello, can everybody hear me? Get a thumbs up. So yes, I had the pleasure of sitting next to Gwen on an airplane, and we did not stop talking non-stop the whole entire time. And we felt so connected. You know, sometimes you just meet someone and you feel like you've known them forever. Well, that's what the connection that we had. So it was, it's interesting because as a dietitian, usually I get one of two reactions when people meet me. They either are super interested, which typically, nowadays people are a little more interested in nutrition, but most often they get this look on their face like, oh my gosh, don't look at what I'm eating. They think that, you know, I'm going to judge whatever that they're eating, and they don't want to hear about it. They start to, oh, I don't drink this that often, or I don't eat this that often, and they feel self-conscious about it. But it's such an amazing power that we have over our health destiny. As you have seen from everything that's going on pre-COVID, how sick our nation is, how it's just normal, quote unquote, now to have people as they age get sick. I would have to imagine that many of your family members, especially like uncles and aunts and grandparents, are on blood pressure medication or have diabetes or are struggling, you know, with heart disease or what have you, and are gaining weight as the years go on, and then may need a hip replacement or a stent placed or something like that. And we just think about it as getting old, but it is even Alzheimer's and the cognitive, you know, dementia. People just assume that's part of aging, but it's only because of how we treat our bodies. And exercise is critical. You can't have wellness, right, without exercise. You can't have wellness without mental health and emotional health, but you certainly cannot have wellness without nutrition. And nutrition is one of those things where unless something makes you sick immediately, you know, you eat something and then you have an allergic reaction or you throw up because it's, you know, has expired or whatever, most people think they can get away with it, right? They're like, well, but I usually, like I said, I don't eat this that often. And I mean, it is a birthday or whatever, but then you realize, oh my gosh, there are lots of, this doesn't happen very often. And then it becomes your normal pattern. And that over time, all of a sudden you're like, oh, my pants are tight. Oh, I feel tired. I feel like just that mind fog. you know, and I'm trying to push through these assignments and it's late something and I just don't feel well. And it actually gets to a point with a lot of my students. I teach college and I've been teaching, this is my 21st year teaching college. And my students are so used to being uncomfortable that they don't even know there's another option. Like they don't even realize that, like one of the big issues, and I'm a dietitian, so I have no issue talking about this, but one of the big issues is poop, right? So, you know, most people don't talk about this, but I have students who they go almost 2 weeks without pooping. Could you imagine? Like how
I'll talk about it so they don't have to. Before I found out I was allergic to dairy, I was pooping like every 3 to 4 days, and I grew up like that, and I thought that was totally normal until I cut out dairy and realized I'm severely allergic, and now I have like regular normal poops. So
yeah,
totally.
and it's crazy because, you know, it's like you just think that's normal though. I mean, a lot of people think it should really hurt to go poop. I had, this didn't intend to be a poop lecture, but that's how all of my, you know, classes, it's like just where, you know, we are. But I had, one of my sister's friends actually said, what do you mean to, because they were talking and she was visiting at her house and she was eating the way she eats, which is how I eat. And her friend was like, wow. She walked out of the bathroom and she said, this is TMI, but that was the best pooping experience I've ever had. And my sister looks at her and she's like, what are you talking about? She said, it didn't hurt. She said, I didn't get nauseous. My sister's thinking, nauseous? You get nauseous when you have to poop? But she just thought that was normal. I mean, she just thought stomach aches, normal. Really hard poops, normal. You know, feeling kind of backed up, normal. It's like, no, that's only normal because that's how you're feeding your body. So what I was, you know, wanting to just make the point of is most people don't think they could feel that good because they're used to feeling, ugh. And especially since I know you have the same personality that I do, which is go, 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 go. I got this. I can do it, right? Well, in those circumstances, we just push on, even if we're uncomfortable. So are you just not going to finish an assignment because you're tired? No, you're going to do it. And not only are you going to do it, you're going to deliver the best that you possibly can. Well, you may be pushing your body beyond what it needs to be pushed because you don't give it the nutrition that you potentially could. So that's what we're going to talk about. But I have, so I said 21 years. My life though in food started when I was little. I actually started cooking and like writing down little recipes when I was 6 or 7 years old. My first recipe that I wrote down that I remember was cinnamon toast, just in case I didn't know how to make it again, right? So I wrote how to make cinnamon toast. And now I have a cookbook. So it came, you know, it has taken me from that all the way. But I grew up in an Italian family and we showed love with food. And so we all, my grandmothers, both, I had a German and Irish grandmother and then an Italian grandmother. And everything was eat, eat, eat. Here's food. I worked on it all day. Eat, eat, eat. And I'm sure some of you in your own families have someone in your family who shows love with food. The problem was we were eating food that didn't love us back. So when I became a dietitian, I learned a little more, but then I learned a huge amount back in 2011, which had me completely change the focus of and the eating pattern for my family. And I have never looked back at all because the research is ridiculously strong. I am a research girl. Okay, so as a registered dietitian and nutrition professor, you know, I'm not going to just follow a fad like all these crazy keto and paleo. You've got to show me the research. And so that's what drives my choices. and my recommendations, because I am one of those people who walks the talk. So I don't just tell my students, yeah, you should be eating this, and then I'm eating junk in the drive-thru, right? No, I live the recommendations that I give them. So that's a little tiny bit about me. I have, I put together, when Gwen sent me an email, let's see, you can see me straight on, right? Because I'm seeing myself on the side, but hopefully you can see me. Gwen sent me an email saying, is there anything that you can put together for this group of very motivated, fantabulous girls, and something that will help them going into kind of this transition from high school to college, you know, and beyond. So I put together several resources. So what we thought about doing for this session, I was going to go through some of those resources so that you can see what I put together, and then answer any questions that you have. I also wanted to take you into my kitchen. I was waiting for an ingredient to arrive from Amazon that didn't make it. So I won't be able to do the cooking demo, but I can show you the ingredient that I was gonna use. I have a little tiny bit of it left, which is not enough. But I also thought it might be fun to just show you some of my favorite equipment that you might want to have when you either in your own kitchen, in your family kitchen now, or in your first apartment, even things you could bring to the dorms. Because when I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for my undergrad, and I went right when I was 18, and I lived in the dorm for my first year, and then I lived in another dorm as a resident advisor, as an RA, for my second year, because that paid for my room and board for that second year, because I was trying to finance everything on my own and make any little money I had go further. So I worked, like, I obviously ate at the cafeteria, you know, options, but I also had a little bit of cooking equipment, and I can still picture it in my mind in my dorm room, because there was like a common kitchen-ish area that nobody really used except me. They had like a microwave and a sink and things like that. So if that's of interest to you, I can show you just a few things that I would have with me to be able to put some food together. So does that sound like a plan? Everybody doing okay? Yeah, okay. I can't see everybody's faces at once. I just see a few of you. Okay, is the sound all right? Can you hear me all just fine? Okay, so what I was gonna do is do a screen share with the documents that I sent to Gwen, all right? So let me see if I can do that. Casey, can you stop screen sharing, or it says only the host can share in this meeting? Can you give me rights to screen share?
Yes, I can. Give me 1 second here.
Try to choose the Timaree that's not on video.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It still says only the
The
host.
host now.
Oh, now I'm the host. Okay. Yeah, perfect.
There we go.
So let me.
And these are the handouts you sent earlier, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So the girls, you should have, you can have read them before, but if you haven't read them, they are in the Google Classroom for you all to read underneath Gwen's videos.
Okay. So can you see this? That looks good?
Yes.
Okay. So there's 4 documents that I put together, and they include, this is like this is such a cool, it's a tool, right? But it is so much packed into one. And so it's almost like an e-cookbook, because what it does is my students do a 21-day extra credit assignment that takes them into changing their diet over 21 days. And I can give you that information as if you wanted to test that out, because there's a free app that goes along with that. But they often, because that plan has lots of different recipes, they often get overwhelmed with the recipes, even though some of them are pretty simple. And so they always ask me, well, what are like really cheap, easy ways? Because they say I have no time to cook, I have no cooking skills, and I have no money. So it's like, okay, what can you do and still stay on that 21-day change? And so this is what I put together for them. And so I keep adding to it and tweaking it. So here are some ideas for you. We'll start with breakfast. And as you see, I have specific ideas, but then I have links either to more articles from my website or videos and articles. I have done many, I think they're in the at least 50 videos with California Bountiful TV, where it's part of the Farm Bureau. And so I go to the farmer's market or the supermarket, I talk about a specific item, and then I go into the kitchen and make a recipe with that item. So I have all of those on my website. So they're kind of like shopping videos. And then I also have articles with recipes. So that's where you'll see all these hyperlinks. So for breakfast ideas, you can start with peanut butter or your favorite kind of nut butter. So there's lots of flexibility on some kind of whole grain bread. So if you want the highest quality, you're going to go with sprouted organic bread, right? So we have grocery outlets in our general area, and they always have the best price. But you can also find Dave's Killer Bread all over the place. Trader Joe's has a sprouted. The benefit to sprouted whole grain breads are there's no flour in them. They're just the wheat berries that are ground. And that's ideal because you want your food in the most whole form possible. So the opposite of that would be something like potato bread, right? Where that you see in the supermarket, or like your regular white bread, because that has wheat, but it has wheat that has been processed so much that it's basically a fine powder. And it doesn't resemble it doesn't resemble the plant, the wheat plant, or have all of the fiber and the phytonutrients, the plant nutrients, or any of the really good qualities. So that's why we always want to look for the most unprocessed version. So if you want to consume toast, then you're going to want the most unprocessed version, the most whole version, which ideally would be a whole grain bread or a whole grain sprouted bread. Alvarado Street is one of the companies that you'll see around, but also, like I said, Trader Joe's has it as well. And then peanut butter, and we're not going to go through every item on here in this detail, but just to give you an idea how much information I have here for you. So peanut butter, you look at a label. So question for you, and I would like you to answer, what do you look for on a label? So those of you who look for labels, what do you look for? Like you pick up the label and where do your eyes go first? It's the most important thing. Not what I think, but what you think. So maybe in the chat, and Casey, I can't see the chat. So if you could help me if they answer.
I can totally help you. All right. So we have, they look for the nutrition chart.
Okay. Elizabeth, what on the nutrition chart? Okay, so sugar, sodium, sugar, total saturated fat.
Ingredients, saturated fat, the ingredients.
Okay.
Sugar.
So several of you hit the nail on the head. It is the ingredients. Do not go any further. Start with the ingredients. If there is something in there that you don't want, it doesn't matter what the other numbers look like. It doesn't matter if it's low calorie or if it's low salt or low sugar. If it has an ingredient in there that is a science experiment that you don't want in your beautiful body, then you stop there. Again, doesn't matter if you have a coupon, doesn't matter if it's free, right? So peanut butter should have peanuts and maybe salt. That's it. It shouldn't have hydrogenated oils. It shouldn't have palm oil. It shouldn't have sugar. It shouldn't have food dye. It should just be peanuts, right? So like Trader Joe's has peanut butter that's just peanuts. And then they have another one that's just peanuts and salt. So that's what we're, wanting to look for. Now, of course, if you're allergic to peanuts, don't eat peanut butter, right? But I just want you to make sure that you're careful and do not be tricked or duped by words on the package like natural, because you'll see natural peanut butter and it'll have 15 ingredients in it, because natural, according to the USDA, doesn't have a definition. So you can put it on any label. You can put it on Twinkies, right? So I want to make sure you just focus those beautiful eyes right on the ingredient list, okay? So come on back here. Now, when we add, so we have a nut butter, right? And then on top of it, do you put some sugary jam? No way. Are you kidding? You know what you put on there? Fruit. So you take a banana. It's very complicated, right, with bananas because they're so difficult to work with. You have to open them up. The biggest question is which side do you open them, right? That's it. So you open that baby up and you slice away and you put that on top of your toast. Or if you're lucky enough to have strawberries, you do it with strawberries, or you do it with apples, or you do it with peaches. Not the whole apple. Slice up that baby apple, right? And put it on there. And then you take cinnamon and you put it on top. Why? Because cinnamon is full of antioxidants. All of those spices, pumpkin pie spice, ginger, nutmeg, cinnamon, my chai spice that you'll find on my website, packed with antioxidants that will feed and protect all of your cells. So now you've got a pretty cool looking piece of toast, right? This has taken it to the next level. Now, if you are saying, well, I don't eat any toast, okay? Do it with a sweet potato. A sweet potato, really? Yeah, right? I mean, you can do it with all kinds of things. And that actually speaks to my cookbook, which I'll explain in a little bit. So you can just have fun. If mango is in season and you think almond butter and mango would be nice, go for it. Any combinations, okay? Now, sometimes that's pretty sweet. And actually, I had a student, it was so cool. So I was in my class and I told my students, okay, try this peanut butter with toast and the banana. So then the next class period, I come in and I ask, did anybody try it? So I get this kid in the back and he's always kind of like, I don't know if he's half sleeping or whatever, but he had his little hand up and barely kind of looking at me. And I said, hey, did you try it? He said, yeah. I said, how was it? He said, it was great. I said, what? He said, it was great. I said, can you say that louder? He said, it was fantastic. I said, what? He said, it's better than donuts. Oh, I started jumping around in class. Yes, like that is huge. When you eat a donut, it smells good. It may even taste good. And then you feel like poop, right? Very shortly after. You eat this and you feel like you're eating dessert, right? Now, some people don't necessarily want dessert for breakfast, okay? If that's a little too much to handle. So go with the savory side. Now, I don't just do avocado toast. I do avocado, oh yeah, toast, all right? So see on the side here, this is my avocado, oh yeah, toast. And it is so beautiful. You will see all the different layers and the top is capped with purple, okay? So you have to make sure that you are true to the purple and don't slack on this. Make it just like it is and then don't talk to anybody. Just sit there and enjoy every bite. Okay, it's taking everything I have not to just leave you right now and go make some avocado toast. But check that out. Oatmeal and fruit, okay? I have a guide here. I often make oatmeal on Sunday for the whole week. So if you're in the dorms, whatever this crazy world is wherever it's gonna take us, and you don't have a big refrigerator, you're not gonna wanna prep for the week ahead. You may wanna do a couple overnight oats in jars that you can keep in a little fridge if you wanted, or just, it's so darn quick. You can do it in the microwave, right? It's super fast. So I have kind of a basic recipe here for oatmeal with fruit. I also have chia puddings. Those are really easy to just mix up and have in mason jars. Mason jars are gonna be your friend. They're super easy to wash, and you can get plastic tops. I will show those to you when we go in the kitchen, okay, to make it easy. Because sometimes often the metal tops will rust and get nasty. And so I don't want you to have to deal with that. Now, lunch and dinner ideas. In my cookbook, I have, everything is set up, it's called the Foodie Bar Way, and everything is set up like a taco bar. So not like a granola bar, but like a taco bar. So it's like one meal, lots of options, everyone's happy. That's the concept. So it works really well for parties, as you could imagine, and families, but it also really works well for anyone who likes variety, where you kind of make some of the pieces ahead and then you just put things together in different ways. And kind of think about Chipotle, right? So if you go there, you can get a bowl, a burrito, a salad, tacos, but it's the same stuff. Now, in my book, you vary the different items, of course, but it's pasta and pizza and nachos and all those bowls and fun stuff, but it's all the healthiest version of everything, okay? So one of the ideas in my book is a pasta foodie bar. So here is kind of like just the basic about it, and I'll show you later about the book, but here you take a pasta and then you mix things in. You'll have access to frozen veggies, right? You can get some tomato sauce in a jar. Trader's has a great one in a jar. You can do chopped greens. You can do a can of kidney beans. So you're wanting to think about a green, a bean, as many vegetables as possible, and typically a grain or a starchy vegetable, right? So that's what you're kind of building. So you got the pasta, and it's going to be a whole grain pasta, of course, because they are great now. They taste much better than they taste excellent. They used to taste like cardboard, but now they taste great. And you can, if you don't want a pasta that's made from whole wheat, you can do a legume pasta. You see now black bean pasta, lentil pasta, chickpea pasta, rice pasta, all different choices. And so those all have different flavors, but they're all fine. And then you can even, depending on where you live, as far as your, I guess you can actually just do it in the microwave. What I was gonna say was spaghetti squash. So spaghetti squash is fantastic, and you just microwave to steam that, and then you use a fork and you scrape it out, and it comes into like little pieces. I actually have some in my garage fridge that I cook that I may be able to show you in a minute. But there's so many different options. You don't feel like you have to just, oh, I don't eat pasta. It's like, oh no, there's so many different options. So, and again, these are super easy. So you're just putting all of this together. Another idea is loaded potatoes. So higher level, like potatoes are great. Higher level for nutrition is sweet potatoes. Now, not all sweet potatoes are the same. You see them ranging from orange to kind of whitish yellow inside. There's purple on the outside, white on the inside, and purple all the way through. They are gorgeous. You can see me shop for them on the California Bountiful. And so if I want the creamiest potato, that's a sweet potato, I'll choose the ones that are brown on the outside, but like butter color on the inside. the yellowish on the inside. And they're right next to the ones that are orange. The orange ones are great. They just tend to be a little more stringy. So they are great for making, like for chopping up. But if I just want to bake a sweet potato and I just want it super creamy, then I use the lighter colored flesh. And you'll see me do this shopping and everything on California Bountiful. So can you see up in the top, this is a link to watch me shop and then make this recipe. So I'm like, this document is giving you a journey and giving you recipe ideas and videos and everything. Okay, so it's like packed. It's not just, oh, it's a handout with some ideas. So it's kind of coming to life. And then you top that sweet potato with, of course, you've got beans, greens, right? You always want to think beans, greens, and you've got your starchy veg as your potato. And then you have fun with salsa and avocado and red cabbage. And you want color because color brings nutrition. So unless we're talking about Skittles, right? And Takis and Starburst and those artificially colored foods, the naturally colored foods, the color that itself is the phytoplant nutrient. So the orange that makes the sweet potato orange or carrots or purple, that's actually the plant nutrient that protects our cells. So the more color, the better. So you want as colorful as humanly possible. Now, I also want you to reserve judgment when often we come to eating situations with preconceived notions about experiences we've had. So you may have a situation where your mom made something or your dad cooked something and it was not good, right? And so in your mind, you're like, I don't eat that, right? My mom had that with Brussels sprouts. I actually started to make them. My mom's like, I can't. I'm like, you're the mom. What are you talking about? She's like, whoa, your Grammy made them from, and I can still smell them. Terrible. And I said, okay, let me try to make them. And I made them, and she's like, oh my gosh, these are amazing. I had no idea. Where have they been all my life? So what I tell my students when I say something like purple cabbage or kale or greens, and they go, ooh, you know, I'll hear them say, ew, that's gross. I'm like, whoa, it's a second, people. We don't say, ooh, gross in my class. This is what we say. That sounds interesting. I don't believe I've had that prepared in a way I've enjoyed it yet. That's what we say. We all practice together because our natural reaction is, ooh, gross, when it could have been something life-changing, so delicious. I didn't grow up with Ethiopian food. I didn't grow up with Korean food. And now, as an adult, I am so upset with all those years I missed out on amazing food because I didn't know it was going to be so amazing. So please, reserve judgment. When I mention something like, I don't eat beans. Oh no, that's what you have to say in your mind. That sounds interesting. I don't believe I've had that prepared in a way I've enjoyed it yet. Okay, now we got to keep moving here. Lentil soup, I've got a recipe for you in a crock pot. So crock pot, easy, right? Now people are getting instant pots, wonderful. I don't know if they'll let you smuggle those into the dorms if you end up going to the dorms or not, but these are like multi-function, contraptions, and it's cool because you don't need a kitchen. So you can do like in the Instant Pot, because it's quick, because it's a pressure cooking situation, you can cook anything from potatoes to soups to, oh my gosh, rice, anything in there relatively quick. Instant does not mean instant, okay? Because it has to build up pressure. So if you see a recipe that says 7 minutes, make lentil soup. Yeah, it's only 7 minutes of cook time, but it may be 25 minutes of heat up time. So just, it's not hard. It's just sitting there waiting, but just so that you have, when you hear about that. So soups are great. Soups are great, especially if you have space for the leftovers and the planned overs. So I always, when I make a soup, I divide it up. I usually double or triple the recipe if I like it. And I divide it up into 3 or 4 containers for the freezer and then 1 for the fridge so that I don't get sick of it. Okay, but if you don't have access to a big freezer, you don't need to make a lot. Okay, it only makes sense if you have access. But as you see on the side here, I have multiple other recipes for soups, and that's just a few on my website. I have been working on my website for 10 years. So I've been adding to it for 10 years. There's like 250 posts. So there's tons of information there. So then we've got, again, easy to throw together burritos, veggie rice, okay? And then I have separate recipes just to kind of highlight certain ideas, but these are just the basics. Black bean sloppy joes. If you've have never played with jackfruit, you can get canned jackfruit and use that to make like a barbecue slider, kind of like instead of barbecue pork. And then more snack ideas. So instead of quesadillas, I make beanadillas, right? So in my book, I have hummadilla and pizzadilla, which is just putting, you know, yummy stuff in between tortillas. So that's something that if you have a pan or one of those like panini makers, you know, that makes it pretty easy to do. Let's see here, more beanadillas, hummus, how to make your own hummus. You certainly can buy hummus, but it's really easy to make. And again, we want to look for food that has the least number of crazy ingredients. It's fine if something has lots of different spices, just like a recipe could have lots of spices. But if it has ingredients in there that sound like a science experiment, I don't want you to have to put those in your body. A little bit more on snack ideas. Okay, so as you can see, this is packed with information, and I want you to come back to it and use it as a guide. Then I want to show you 2 other things here. I put together, and we're not going to go through this in depth, but sometimes we get caught, and a little less now because we're traveling a lot less, but sometimes you are in a circumstance where you need to eat out, okay? Most of the time you can plan ahead, but every once in a while there's unplanned travel. So my students will often say, well, you know, what are the best choices, kind of the best of the worst when I have to eat out? So I put together some ideas about how to get plant-based choices at these different types of restaurants. So everything from different Asian food, Indian food. I put some links or some information about apps that I have found to be really helpful. Happy Cow is amazing app. And also happycow.net is great. So if you don't want to get the app, but A Billion Veg is also growing, and VegMan is still out there. The websites I put here. So again, different types of food. You know, people will often say, how do you go to a steakhouse? I don't obviously go very often because I honestly, for eating out for me, this is, and my kids will complain all the time. They say, we don't really like to go out with you because when you come home, you say, I could have made that better. I could have made it cheaper. I would have had leftovers and it would have been much tastier, you know? And it's like, I know they like to eat out, but it's so expensive and you end up getting tons of salt, tons of fat. And it's just, it's a waste to me for most cases. But some things that I don't make at home, we will go out every once in a while. And then I even included, like, if it's really bad and you're stuck eating fast food, look like at, they change their menus a little bit, but you know, if you're really stuck on the road, what you can ask about options wise. And then let me take you to, I went to as many places as I could here to give you ideas. Most of the time, when people think about eating on the road, they do not think about supermarkets. They just think about fast food. And it's funny because they'll pass by a supermarket on the way to a fast food and say like, there's nothing to eat. I had to eat McDonald's. Actually, there's a supermarket right around the corner, right? In many cases. And so this is a ton of ideas. And I actually originally developed this in a different version for athletes at my college who are stuck traveling on a bus to an away game. And so I wanted them to have some ideas. So I gave you by area of the supermarket. So bulk bins, produce, dairy case, frozen, and then like random aisles, you know, what to grab. And again, these are not the best of the best like you could make at home for some of these ideas. You know, they're like some crackers or pita chips, and pita chips are going to have oil. They're going to have salt. You know, is it better to buy a pita and toast it at home? Absolutely. But when you're stuck on a bus and you have to get out, right, and get some food, or you're going to pass out, we got to make the best of what we've got. Okay. So I hope you find these, again, resources super helpful. And then I have two more things, and then I will ask or answer some questions, and then I want to make sure I get into the kitchen just to show you a few things if you guys want to see that. But I was pretty confident that you would have access to a crock pot or an Instant Pot or just a pot on a stove. And I thought that a crock pot chili would be fun because you can get an idea of how this foodie bar way style is, where it's like mix and match. So here is basically you put this uncooked quinoa. Could you put barley instead, or brown rice or purple rice? Absolutely. So you can change these different pieces up, but quinoa, tomatoes, cooked beans of any type. So anything from black beans to garbanzo beans to kidney beans to pinto beans to mayocoba beans to cannellini beans, any of them. And beans are by far the most, the food that is most associated with longest life in the world. So if you look at all the different cultures, and Dan Buettner is a researcher who looked at he actually came up with a book called The Blue Zones, where he looked at people, the longest lived people in the world, and what did they have in common? And they all had beans. They had some kind of bean, pea, lentil, right? Among other things, right, in their life. But that was huge, and that's linked to longevity. So that's why I had mentioned beans, and greens are the most nutrient dense foods on the planet, the most nutrients per calorie. So we've got quinoa, tomatoes, beans, veggie broth. My students will say, well, where do I find veggie broth? Right next to the chicken broth, right next to the beef broth, okay? Veggie broth has always been there. Red pepper or roasted peppers, carrot, zucchini, onion, garlic, mushrooms. Mushrooms are amazing. If you don't love them yet, chop them up into tiny pieces. They love you unless you're allergic to them. They are huge with our immune system, okay? And they fight cancer in multiple ways. And kale, collards, those are going to be powerhouse. Bok choy, okay, greens. So basically, and I gave you a spice mix, one of my spice mix recipes. And then basically you put everything except the greens in the crock pot, cook it. When it's done, add the greens so they just wilt and stay beautiful, bright green. You're done. And then have fun with toppings. So cabbage, onions, cilantro, pepitas, jalapeno, hot sauce, lime, whatever floats your boat. Okay, so I even have some specific Prep Smart tips, okay? And again, this freezes perfectly. You can make it ahead. It tastes better the next day, okay? So that's that. And then one more, and this is what I was gonna try to show you. And this is, again, another master recipe, which means you can make changes to it and keep the same concept, but have variety. So sometimes I love oatmeal, but there are a lot of people who don't like the texture. My husband's one of those. He just doesn't like the texture of the oatmeal. So bulgur is another, it's a wheat, it's a cracked wheat that has more of a kind of rice texture. It's not gooey. So this is really fun. And the reason why I wanted to show you how to make this is because you don't have to cook. All you have to do is add the boiling water to bulgur and cover it. So I do this when I do cooking demos, when I'm out and I don't have a stove. If you have a little kettle that'll warm water, which is what I had in the dorms and what I have in my office, then all you need to do is boil that water and then pour it on the bulgur, and that's it. And you mix it with all the ingredients. So it's really, really easy. So I have lots of details about, you know, giving you all the background and the information you need. But it's basically bulgur and chia seeds. Chia seeds are going to be powerhouses of protein and omega-3, and they're fiber. They're just incredible little seeds. And so you use those with some water, the spice of your choice, some kind of dried fruit. It can be as basic as raisins, right? Some kind of fresh fruit like apples or pears or banana, and ideally some berries. Berries are going to be one of the healthiest fruits on the planet. Okay, so frozen berries, if you have access to a freezer, make the most sense because berries go bad quickly. So I don't like buying raspberries at the supermarket. I spend like $7 for this little container, and I spend 5 minutes making sure it has no mold on it before I leave. And then when I get home, 15 minutes later, there's mold. So I like to just buy them frozen. I don't have to hassle with that. And then you can use a plant-based milk and then some nuts on top if you'd like. So, but you can make this, again, a larger batch, or you can make this, you know, just for a few days. And I love this, love this. This is so, so, so good. So let me answer, let me stop my screen share. And then did that work? Yes. Okay, are we back?
I think so.
Beautiful faces. Okay, so I can now move myself into the kitchen if you want me to show you some things, or do we want to stop for questions? I saw someone had to leave.
Actually, our past representative, our current Distinguished Young Woman of California, had to leave, but she is a health nut and is glad we're recording this because she just thinks you're so interesting. She was like, "This is so cool." So
good. She
said goodbye and thank you, and she found it really helpful. I think we would be fun to see your kitchen. I noticed a lot of the girls had questions about calories, and I think that could be something worth your touching on because I know that that's like really is like calorie counting and like doing all that. I don't, I mean, I follow you and Gwen, so that's not how I think. So I think that'd be interesting to touch on.
Sure. I can address that really quick. Not, you know, I'll take whatever time we need, but then I'll take you into the kitchen. So we are in a calorie, it's kind of funny. We're in a calorie conscious world that cheats all the time, right? So it's like people are walking around going, oh, how many calories are in that? How many calories in that? But then they'll go and eat something that is totally horrible for them, you know, and it's like, really? What? Or they'll say like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym, so, you know, I'll be fine. Okay, so what's really important is they used to feed, the researchers used to believe, let me see if I can get myself centered, that a calorie was a calorie was a calorie. So calories were originally discovered and measured by something called a bomb calorimeter. So if you've ever seen a metabolic lab, which some of you may have, they have these calorimeters where they take a piece of food and they put it inside a chamber and they light it on fire, and there's water surrounding this chamber, and however much the water temperature increased is the direct result of how many calories are in the food. Okay, so it's kind of a funky thing, but that's basically because food calories are basically a measurement of heat, potential, you know, potential energy. So when they did this, they said, oh, you know, fat has 9 calories per gram, carbs have 4 calories per gram, protein has 4 calories per gram, and you learn that in high school, right? Or middle school or elementary school. And so we all just figured if you're looking at your total calories, then a calorie is a calorie is a calorie, right? However, we know now, not even close. Not even close. Fat calories find their way from your lips to your hips much easier than carb calories or protein calories. So we want to, and again, the best, the best rule of thumb, and I'm a dietitian, this is, I can do all these calculations, but the best way that I want you to think about food is whole foods, not calories. Because what happens is your body needs nutrients. And if you don't give your body the nutrients, it's going to keep asking for you to keep eating, and you're never going to feel satisfied. So, we often are duped again by marketers who, like, how they came up with those 100-calorie packs, like Oreos in 100-calorie packs and Goldfish 100-calorie packs. And they just made them thinner and thinner and thinner, like compared to the regular Goldfish or whatever. And they're like, but these are 100-calorie packs. Well, those calories aren't doing your body any good. They're not helping your body at all. They're just junk. They're just a waste. So the calories in carrots, the 100 calories in carrots, can't even compare to the 100 calories in that 100-calorie pack of Oreos. But what the food marketers do is they make you think that that's a good choice because you're not eating too many calories. So when you eat the foods that you need to be eating, and when I say you need to, I mean like our body was made to, where it's so extreme that when you start eating this way, the diseases that you had start to go away. I mean, it's crazy. It's almost like an infomercial. You know when I'm talking about this? Sometimes I think, and you get the free blender. It's crazy. It's like people who've had diabetes for 20 years change their diet to whole food, plant-based eating, and the diabetes, the blood sugars drop. High blood pressure goes away, to where in 2 days they have to talk to their doctor because their blood pressure medication that they've been on for 20 years is now bringing their blood pressure so low that they could pass out. It's that powerful, but it doesn't make money. Selling carrots, selling broccoli, selling sweet potatoes, nobody's getting rich. What they're making money on is the 100-calorie packs. And the other piece is when you do enough of those 100-calorie packs, because they don't make you feel full, but you're hungry in 5 minutes, and you keep doing this, and then you start gaining weight and you can't figure out why, then you go, oh, I better go join a diet. And then you go pay for some kind of diet program, and then they restrict your calories even more. And then your body's like, oh my gosh, I'm starving. And so I don't know what to do. Do I hold on to calories? Do I burn them? Oh, I'm not getting what I need. So we have all kinds of people in our society who are overfed but undernourished. And we have people who are counting calories that may, from the outside, look quote unquote good, but are a hot mess inside with inflammation, and their little body is not healthy. So I don't count calories, because when I eat food, if I eat whole food, like let's say apples are basically nutrition in water. That's it. I mean, apples are so high in water, you could eat, so this is a great example. You could eat 5 apples, right? Or drink this much apple juice. So the apple juice is not going to make you feel full. It's going to get absorbed very fast into your bloodstream. It's going to make your blood sugar go up, right? You're not going to get the fiber. It's not going to feed your good microbiome. I mean, I teach classes 55 hours, right, over the semester, and I still don't have enough time. So I won't be able to cover everything today, but it is profoundly different when you eat whole food. If it's something that has been made in a factory, right, I would highly recommend not purchasing it, right? Like, I mean, obviously we're going to get oats and all the rest of it, but I'm talking about like a manufactured food-like substance. It doesn't matter what the calories are. So that's why I ask you, when you look at a food label, where does your brain go? Where do you want to look? Now, what's interesting is they changed the labels last couple of years. They've made the calories bigger, but they haven't changed the size of the ingredient list. And sometimes that ingredient list is tiny, right? You really have to look for it because they want you to say, oh, that's not that bad. That's not that many calories. I'm going to buy that, because they make money on the package and everything, right? And on you being sick. Like I said, there's no money in healthy people in our society right now, the way it's set. But there's a lot of suffering. And so we want to set the tone for people around us. We want to nourish ourselves with fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, which is beans, peas, lentils, right? And nuts and seeds in their whole form. I mean, that's it. And I am not going to get into the whole animal product, because that's a whole nother discussion. But I research this. This is what I do. And the healthiest food on the planet are those plant-based foods that I gave you. Other foods, any other animal-based foods or processed foods do damage to your cells. We know they do. And they affect your DNA. So your deoxyribonucleic acid, your genetic material that helps you make new cells, that helps you turn over your cells, new skin cells, new bone cells, new GI tract cells. And that's where cancer comes, right? Those cells that reproduce. So we know that eating animal products and processed food damages the DNA and turns some genes on and some genes off. And when you eliminate those foods from our diet, health can come back in. Your body can repair. So just think about this really quickly. If you had a scratch, right, on your arm, and you didn't mean to, and you were in the garage or something and you scratched your arm and it was really red and bleeding. And what would happen if you just cleaned it out and just let it be? Ultimately, what would happen? It would heal, right? But what if every day you took sandpaper and you rubbed it with sandpaper? Every day you just rubbed it. What would happen? Would it heal? So what if you went to the doctor and you're like, oh my gosh, look, this is bad. Doctor's like, oh my goodness, it is bad. Okay, well, we're going to clean that up. We're going to give you some medication. We'll give you some pain medication. We'll give you some antibiotics. We'll take care of this. But every day you came home and you used a little sandpaper. Then you go back to the doctor. Doctor, it's really bad. It's not getting any better. Oh, no. And now I can't even function. I can't even concentrate. Okay, we'll give you an antidepressant, to try to help you because, this is serious. This is affecting your life. What do you need to stop doing? Putting the sandpaper on the little arm, right? If you did that, then the arm would heal. We need to get out of the way of our body to heal itself. And I'm talking about the foods that we're eating. Obviously, if you break your ankle, you're going to go to the hospital. But the food we eat is injuring our body over and over and over again. So when you choose whole food, plant-based choices, your body's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I didn't know the power of that until I really delved into the research. Because I used to say, okay, well, at least, if it's chicken instead of beef, and, if you take the skin off, and if you just use the egg whites. But what we know is that all those animal products affect your body at the cellular level. Now, you may say, wait a second, my grandmother's 95 years old. She drinks whiskey and she eats eggs every single day. There are people that genetically seem to be able to make it, right? But is that your average person? Is everybody out there in the world ridiculously healthy and doing amazing eating these foods? No. And when people change, what happens? They get their life back. Okay? Their quality of life. So that's a lot that I didn't even mean to go into, but hopefully that's helpful. But the focus on calories is just you're missing the boat. You are following what society is trying to guide you, but it's not going to serve you. And it starts to get like, oh my gosh, how many calories did I have? And let me add them up. And I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to hassle with that. I would rather have you focus on food. Okay. And quality.
I want you to clarify that, because I've just seen a lot of people go down that road and they are confused why they have no results. And so I think,
and they end up often with eating disorders. I mean, I was undergrad nutrition and everybody around me was very obsessed with how many calories. And it's just no way to live. And it's no way to nourish your body. Because like I said, your body needs nutrition, not calories in that, from any source. Okay, any other questions before I move us into the kitchen real quick?
I kind of had a question about, because I am a student athlete and I row, so like I have to consume more calorie or like more food than the average person. And I think there's definitely a big emphasis, especially in today's society, about how girls shouldn't be eating as much and like that's like established through social media and everything. So I was just wondering like how, like types of snacks that you like think is good for like someone who like should be eating more, but like healthy snacks. Because I feel like also, since like we're so busy getting caught up just like grabbing a bar or something on our way out, like I definitely catch myself doing that, but I like want to try. I think my meals are more healthy, but like I think with snacks I should like create more of a balanced thing.
Yeah. No, Julia, that's a great question. So the ideas that I had on that 4-page, both of those 4-page sheets, that last page for the supermarket, but also in the, like I said, I set that up for athletes, but in my 4 pages, I want you to think of snacks less about the societal definition of what a snack is and more of like a mini meal that you could have half of the leftover pasta as a snack. You know what I mean? From the night before. So again, the snack industry is multi-billion-dollar. So they're going to make you feel like it needs to be in a package or a bar or some kind of fun snack where a piece of toast with a nut butter and fruit, that is a great snack. Those, a bean salad, I have a cowboy salad with some jicama, and cabbage. Those are phenomenal. Still stick with if possible, your beans, greens, and, kind of grain combination, because that's going to serve you. It's going to give you the nutrition you need for your practices, for, to get you through competitions. So I think it kind of makes me think a little bit about the kids' menus. Throughout our whole society and for years, kids' menus, it doesn't matter what kind of restaurant, it's typically French fries, chicken nuggets, mac and cheese, and, some kind of tater tots or whatever, right? And it's like, why did we think that kids only eat that stuff? Kids should be able to eat what's on the regular menu. And so we'd always buy like the regular menu items and then just give the kids, like split it with the kids rather than have them eat some kind of crappy kids food. But it's like, oh, you're not going to order off the kids menu. Same thing, like you're not going to eat a snack for a snack. It's like, oh, just let them be. The other thing you had mentioned is really important about what society thinks we should be eating as girls. Like, oh, don't eat too much or what. Okay. So first of all, the older you get, and I hate to sound like an old person, but the older you get, the more you realize people are more concerned about themselves and what you think of them than they're looking at you. Now, so, you start to realize eyes on my own plate, like this is me, I'm doing me. And I get pressure, obviously, from society saying, and I tell them, I feel amazing when I eat this way. So, you know, you can do what you wish. This is not a judgment on you, but for me, this is what I need to do to feel my best and to be able to perform my best. So everybody's different, and it may not work for you, you know, I mean, because you don't need to be out there evangelizing like I do, because this is my job, but you can just say, you know, this is what really, it doesn't agree with me. Just doesn't agree with me. I just don't feel well. Or I am fueling my body, because what you'll find is the more of the plant-based whole food you eat, the volume you get to eat increases. So people may look at you and say, oh my gosh, you eat that kind of salad? People will, at my work, I bring this crazy salad, or when we used to be at school, and I have people go, whoa, you're going to eat that whole thing? And I say, every single bite. And they're like, wow, but you know, you got muscles, you're strong, you know, and they're overweight, and you know, and it's like, it's working for me. I don't know, probably won't work for you, but yeah, I want as much nutrient content as possible. Every bite I take feeds my cells, because I'm choosing good choice, you know, making these whole food plant-based choices. So don't let social media, I know it's easier said than done, but try not to, there'll always be someone who is going to have an opinion of you, and just kind of let them have that, because you'll never be able to really affect their brain anyway. You're just going to set an example. And so I think sometimes it's better if we just kind of say, I got this, thank you so much, but I'm going to focus on what makes sense to me, and I'm going to listen to my own body, and I need to eat. That's how it works. And that's how you do it. Hopefully that's a little bit helpful. Any other questions before we move?
Hi, so, sorry. Go ahead.
Do you want to go first? You guys can go first.
Oh,
All right, decide.
Ashley, first, go.
Okay. I also have a question on, I guess the pills that some people take, because I also have friends who take, like, you know, vitamin D pills, or like probiotic, like they eat like, you know, things like that. And I always was confused, because when I was younger, my mom was like, oh, you should eat these like vitamin, like gummy bears with like a lot of vitamin C, like calcium. But like, does that do any good? Because I was always confused on like what those were.
So that's a good question. Again, the supplement industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So they're trying to get you to buy things. So best sources of nutrition are going to be whole foods, without question. A lot of people take a vitamin and assume they can eat crappy because they take a vitamin. So it doesn't cover you. What I would highly recommend is vitamin B12 for everybody. So that's a no-brainer, and those are not expensive. That's Costco, under your tongue, you know, kind of situation, because it'll dissolve there a couple times a week. I think it's like 2,000 micrograms ish, or a little less. That's not a problem. And most of the time you can get B12 in soy milk or almond milk or what have you, but it's more consistent if you just do a little supplement. And then for most people, they get enough vitamin D with sun exposure, but that could be one to consider if you don't really spend a lot of time outside in the sun, because we need that sun exposure for our bodies, but to make the vitamin D active. So that could be something. Mushrooms are a great source of vitamin D though, so you'll see it on the package. And then beyond that, there really isn't a big need for specific vitamins unless there is like you have a doctor that said you're low in this, you know, kind of a thing. But it doesn't, we found that people who take vitamins are not necessarily healthier, especially like I said, those multivitamins. And a lot of the supplements are contaminated with other stuff. You know, and then when people start taking amino acids, like branch chain amino acids, then we start seeing other problems. So I would hope you don't have a whole cabinet full of supplements that, you know, people are taking, because we just haven't seen that pan out as beneficial. And like I said, you really want to strive for getting your nutrition from food. And then what I thought you were going to say when you started to ask your question was about diet pills. So And those absolutely not. So those can be extremely dangerous. They can put you into psychotic breaks. They can, they're not a good idea. Even the ones that we don't think affect your brain, they will give you diarrhea, and that's how the fat blocker ones work. They actually just make you poop out the fat. And on the package, it says, bring extra change of clothes to work and wear dark clothes because you're probably going to leak oil out of your butt. Yeah. So these are not miracle cures, right? So that's not how you do it. You eat well, you move your beautiful body, and you just make sure you're getting this kind of variety of colorful foods. Yeah. So that's good. Excellent. Now, someone else was asking at the same time.
Yeah, so as a nutritionist, you have to look at both what you put in your body, but also like the psychological effects. So the food marketing advertisement area, what do you have to say? Like, do you have any thoughts on how food is marketed, especially to like children?
Oh, it's horrible. I actually have an assignment that I'm going to do for my first day of classes on Monday about how we are seeing now, most people are seeing, it used to be like 500 or so advertisements we'd see a day. And that was like 50s, 60s, right? Now we're seeing 10,000 or more a day. You don't even notice how it's everywhere. It's on billboards, it's on toys, it's on commercials, it's on cartoons, it's in movies, it's everywhere, besides just the blatant billboards and advertisements. And so we have programmed this generation, the younger generations, just like I talked about with snack. So what do you mean? Like when you say snack, that could be any food. But no, people will say, oh, you mean like chips? You mean like Takis? You mean like hot Cheetos? You mean like, no, those are not even food. Those are like Franken foods. They're not even foods. But we have made it normal, right, to feel crappy and eat crappy. So it is ridiculous how they're marketing to kids, and they have forever, right? Because they know that kids will work on their parents. Can I, until the parents are like, fine. You know, and the kid's like, yes, because the kids are just trying to figure out, what they can get. And so in the supermarket, everything on the aisles they pay for the certain height of everything. And they have foods that the kids want to grab at the bottom. Everything is engineered for making money. So we can think outside of that. And so that's why I want you all to be strong about making your own decisions and not letting social media and marketing and the rest of it try influence and get into your brain to make choices that are less than ideal for you. So I want you to be able to look at an advertisement and go, yeah, pretty sly there. Carl's Jr. a few years ago had their ultimate bacon burger, whatever. And what did they do? They put it in the back of a pickup truck with big American flags, and it was a burger. It was the burger with the hot dog on top. Do you remember that one? And so it was like, and they said, you can't get more American than this. And there was some supermodel with her butt cheeks hanging out with the American flag, and it was like all this pressure of like Americans eat at Carl's Jr. Have you ever seen a supermodel eating at Carl's Jr.? No. Okay. And on the commercial, they put it in their mouth and then they spit it out, right? Because, when they're filming the commercial, because they can't put that in their body, right? There's no way. So it's just a mirage. It's just this fake for all the rest of us to go, oh yeah, we better go to Carl's Jr. Look around when you go to fast food. See who's there. See if those are the healthiest people on the planet. I guarantee they're not going to be, okay? No matter what country you're in. A friend of mine lives in the Philippines, and he said most of the Filipinos in the Philippines are healthy and slim and active, except if you go into the cities and go to the KFC. And when you go to the KFC and you go in there, then everybody is fat and sick. And the same thing with the McDonald's and the same, you know, and it's like, because that food, you don't even hardly need to chew it. It just melts. It's just so processed. It just right into your body. So without going into too much more detail, hopefully that answered your question. Any other questions?
I had one about healthy drinks, because like I'm a person that drinks water on a daily.
Yes.
But sometimes I kind of want to change it up without like, oh, I'm going to go to the store and maybe go get like an energy drink or like a soda.
Okay. I got you. Okay, I got you. So on my website, you will see there is a recipe for tropical splash. Okay, so it is very yummy, and it's made with hibiscus tea, which is any of those zinger tea varieties, and that will increase the antioxidant content of your blood within 30 minutes, right? So you're gonna prime your cells for optimal nutrition. You'll also find there's an article on my website that talks about flavoring your waters, but like mint and, you know, kind of like spa water. Awesome idea. So that's what I would go towards. I'd make some of that tropical splash. We keep it in the fridge and then just drink it as we wish. And water is your go-to. There's nothing wrong with that. That is ideal. Green tea, white tea, those are both other options. And with a little citrus, lemon water in the morning, which is great. So those are fantastic. If you like a little apple cider vinegar, you know, in water is another option. That's super. But I don't waste your money on buying bottles of stuff. You know, even like kombucha, lots of sugar in some of those, and they're expensive. You know, I don't want you to, or the juices, don't bother with the juices. The juices are going to miss all the fiber, and the phytonutrients are often, actually like 70% of the phytonutrients in fruits and vegetables are attached to the fiber. So if you juice, you're not getting that. The only thing that breaks the phytonutrient from the fiber is your bacteria in your gut. So it will separate it and allow you to get that nutrient. But if you're just drinking the juice, you just pulled away those wonderful items. And like those monster juices, you know, like the real juice, they're like $7, you know, so, and you drink it just like that. And you're like, wow, I just ate, you know, 10 pounds of kale. No, you didn't. You need to be able to chew, and you need to have the, you know, the water, and you need to have the fiber. So don't be wooed. But again, the beverage industry has gone nuts with profits, and they have been able to turn something. Here's a good quick example. Gatorade. Gatorade was formulated for athletes, and the first Gatorade was urine. Basically, they modeled it on urine because they're trying to replace what you lose. So think about mixing sweat and urine, and that's what you would replace your body with, right? But they figured out they're not going to be able to sell something that tastes like that. So they changed up the flavor and they added sugar. And then they figured, well, we got to make more money than just athletes. So now everybody drinks Gatorade, Powerade, you know, all these. And I tell my students, going from the parking lot to our classroom is not an athletic event. So you don't need a Powerade to do that. Water, right? So I always tell my students, drink water, eat fruit. Drink water, eat fruit. Drink water, eat fruit. Drink water, eat fruit. And when you can't drink water, eat fruit. Okay? So I have another recipe on my website for like my own agua fresca with watermelon and mint and lime in the not microwave, you know, the blender. And you got it. You can make popsicles out of it, you know, very, very good. Okay, another question. Okay.
Really quickly.
Yeah.
I don't have a background in nutrition, but I worked in the media industry for quite a few years, and everything that Timaree is saying is completely true. Just my whole thing on all of that is bribing is usually something that's not allowed. You always hear that in the news. Oh, they were bribed. Oh, this isn't good. Bribing. None of that is good. In the media industry, you're totally allowed to take bribes. we get bribed all the time. We used to get taken out to fancy lunches, fancy dinners, make sure our ad got the best thing, that and the other. So just know that the media industry will do whatever it takes to make money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a very true thing. So don't, you know, like, working in the industry, honestly, is what really opened my eyes up to like how ridiculous, how much money we're going to throw $3 million to make sure Burger King gets a commercial in the Super Bowl. And we're going to take from, you know, like the dairy fund and the meat fund to get it there. So like, it's a weird world. So she's very right. Just make sure you're not fooled by fun packaging, fun commercials, social influence. Like, really just like think in your own head, what should I be putting in my body and what is good for me? And don't be distracted by, because media, they're good. People get paid a lot of money to make you think certain things.
And it works. People buy it. And it's funny because a long time ago, there was a music band in Sacramento called Cake, C-A-K-E. And one of their songs has a line that says, "You're not a rebel if you're buying what they're selling." And that's what they've tried to do, you know, to say, well, I'm a young person, so I'm in college, I can eat crap. Like, it's almost like a rite of passage. My students say, well, isn't that what you're supposed to eat in college? Aren't you supposed to eat top ramen? No, they'd like you to. Taco Bell, good example. They They created the fourth meal. There is no fourth meal. The reason why they created it is because they were slow at their restaurants at that time. So they said, hey, is it late? Is it after 11? Run to the border and have your fourth meal. Do you think that's good for your body? Oh my gosh, it's not, right? But they got a couple, you know, they got some people like, oh, let's pay attention to this. They got some superstars, whatever. And then all of a sudden now everybody's like, oh yeah, fourth meal. It's crazy. But when you look at it from that like meta level and you're like, oh, I can see your little tricks, right? I'm not going for that. I'm taking care of me, because me is going to be the one who's stuck with me for the rest of my life, right? And I have to feel the pain or the anxiousness or whatever related to not eating well, being sick, having a, you know, unclear head or whatever. Taco Bell's not going to help you when you're in the hospital, or Taco Bell's not going to help you when you're not feeling well, right? So, okay, let's go to the kitchen. Is that okay? All right, I'm going to take you, and I have no idea what is happening in the rest of my house, so I have to warn you. I have other people that I live with. Okay, and then this is my top. You see this on my little shirt? So I wore this shirt today because this is my group that meets on Wednesdays from noon Pacific time to 1:20. And you are all welcome because it's on Zoom now. So I'll make sure that Casey and Gwen have the link so that you will be able to join if you can anytime. Where our semester is on 100% online. So I can't meet with my people in person. So we're doing live Zooms. So we all get together and people bring questions about food stuff, cooking stuff. This is what I cooked this week. This is what's in my garden. You know, what do you do about this? My parents are giving me, you know, because I have all different ages. My parents are giving me, you know, stress about this, you know, they made this food and they want me to eat it, or, you know, anything. I'm having friends over, I don't know what to cook, anything. So, and it's nutrition, mindful practices, joyful movement, exercise, and lifelong learning. You know, so we're all about food and everything. Thrive on plants, that's my group. Okay, so I want to show you just a quick few things. If you have access to an IKEA, I don't know if you do, but I just like to show you, this is my favorite cutting board. It is huge and it's $20. It is a, I know, it's amazing. It's all bamboo and it has a lip, so you just put it right on the counter. It's awesome. Anyway, so, and then also at IKEA, this is one of our family's favorite knives. It is a whopping $9.99. So I have different knives, but I bought this because I wanted to see if my students, you know, if it was a good one for my students, because knives can get super expensive. And now it has become the family's favorite knife. Okay. Now I have to show you really quickly how to hold a knife. Most people do it wrong. They hold it by the handle, like trying to get away from that blade, right? No. The way you hold a knife is you pinch right there, and then you wrap your hand around it, so you're controlling the blade with this pinch, okay? And then you do your claw so that you're not hurting, you know, you're not gonna cut your fingers. So you do it this way. But you don't wanna hold back, because then you don't really have control. You wanna pinch, grab the fingers, and you'll see chefs on TV do it wrong all the time. And then you'll find you have much more control to do the rocking motion, okay? Now, you see I have the big cutting board, but I also like to use these flexible cutting boards that I can put in the dishwasher. So I like to put it on top because I like to have that wood underneath. Just, I don't know, it's a personal preference. Now, a couple things that I would definitely make sure you have is a microplane. So this is actually a woodworking tool that someone discovered works really, really well for citrus. So I have many videos on my website. Lately, I've done several Zoom cooking videos so you can see me in action. But this takes off the outer layer of citrus, which can protect your skin against sun cancer. Okay, let me say that again. You protect your skin against cancer that you would normally get from sun exposure. So this also is great for garlic. It can be good, but I love using it for ginger. I freeze ginger, keep it in the freezer, and then I just grate it frozen, because otherwise it gets really stringy, and ginger is very good for your body. So microplane, like $14, $15. Make sure it's the microplane brand. That's the one that I like. You can get at Costco, not Costco, excuse me, Walmart, Target, everywhere, okay? What I was looking for was a reamer. Let me get that. Oh, here. So I really like, and I thought I had a whisk in here. I really like these citrus reamers. They're the easiest. I've had several that are like a garlic press that you squeeze, but I've broken them because I'm like, oh, I want to get all the, you know, juice out, so I break them. So this is better. So you just take your little half a orange or lemon or lime, and they work really, really well. You want to use bowls because you want to make sure that you are catching the seeds before you put it into, you know, whatever you're making. But I would get several stainless steel bowls. So if I was going to the dorm, I would, you know, or making my own little kitchen. I remember having very limited space. And so one of the things I brought with me was a liquid measuring cup that I could microwave in, that I could measure with, right? And so this is really helpful. And then some stainless steel bowls are excellent. You want to make sure that you have the measuring spoons, you know, and measuring cups. This is for dry ingredients, you know, compared to liquid. And if you have the space and can, you know, do like a 1 cup liquid measure too, because that'll be handy. But you could, you know, make your oatmeal or whatever in the microwave. So you want some dry measures as well as the measuring spoons, you know, like these little guys. And then I am a crazy super scraper girl. That's my superpower. I'm a super scraper, meaning I don't like to throw away anything. So if someone's like working on the peanut butter and they're like, oh yeah, and then they put it like, that amount of peanut butter you left in the jar could have fed like 6 people. Okay, so what are you doing? So you got to have good scrapers. So my very favorite scraper is actually called Tovolo. And I know this sounds a little silly, and you figured out I'm already pretty wacky, but it really allows you to scrape very well. And then the other side, is solid, so you can, use it to smooth things or get, in corners and whatever. So that's the little Tovolo, Tovolo scraper. Having some wooden spoons, just kind of some basic fork, knives. You can also get knives that have little guards on them, like Kuhn, Kuhn, has little knives, like little paring knives. Let me see what else it's probably not a bad idea to have a little set of tongs, if you're gonna grill something and you don't want to burn your little fingers. And it works for tossing salad. I have lots of different equipment, but as far as that goes, I think, let me look in my other, I wanted to show you the lids for the jars. So the mason jars, normally have the lid with the, let me grab one. So, you've seen these lids for jars, but they can tend to rust. So you can get, like at Target and Walmart, these replaceable plastic lids. And so they just make it easier to do like your overnight oats or whatever, or your, I have lots of recipes and do cooking demo for making your own salad dressings and things like that. So that's what I use. So I have, like a mango salad dressing, and I just have the top on it. Let's see, blender, obviously if you can get a Vitamix, that's the best of the best. And then food processor, if you have access to a Vitamix, you're golden. But I'll tell you, food processor, so this is the last kind of piece of equipment necessarily, but food processors are helpful if you want to be able to chop something up and not add liquid. Like if you're making, like you've seen a lot of the riced cauliflower now where they turn cauliflower into rice. So you don't want to try to do that in the blender. It'll just, it just won't work. You would have to add water, and then you're making cauliflower soup. Which is fine, but that's probably not what you had planned. But if you use a food processor, you can put the cauliflower and you can just pulse it and it'll just chop it. So you can make your own salsas, you can make your own hummus, you can do all kinds of things. And food processors can range and get into like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. There's actually one company that does commercial, but they're like $1,500 for a food processor. But this food processor, I love. This is called a Hamilton Beach 70740. I know it sounds really specific, but it is, because it's only like the cheapest I've seen it is $28. The most expensive is $40. And I've had it for 3 years. It's very light. It sounds horrible. It's like, ee! But it works like a champ. And so it's super simple. You have the S blade, and that's what you'd use for most like chopping, but it also has a blade that will allow you to grate. So if you want like grated carrot or grated zucchini, or flip it over and slice. So then it'll slice for you. And then you wouldn't use this blade. You just put this on the top. The 2 holes that are big are for your fingers. That's how you're supposed to be using them. So you just set that on, put on the lid, lock it into place, and then you could put carrots or zucchini or whatever in there. So this is, I use this all the time. If you don't want to cut onions, you can just take off the outside, cut them into like 4 pieces, put them in there with the S blade, and then just pulse, and you've got chopped onions. So it makes it easy. If you want to make your own slaw, those types of things. So you don't really need that much equipment. You need bowls. You need knife, you need cutting board, a zester, a microplane, a scraper. You can do a lot of stuff. doesn't take, you don't have to have this totally decked out kitchen. You definitely, if you can get your hands on a Vitamix, get your family to buy one of those. They're amazing.
They sell
Okay,
them refurbished, so you don't have to get them full price too.
Oh yeah, I get them. Yes, refurbished, definitely. And the other thing is, I asked for kitchen stuff from when I was about 8 years old on. So I started collecting my kitchen things when I was little. So if your family's like, I don't know what you want for your birthday, have everybody put in a little bit of money, all your relatives, and then get yourself a Vitamix, you know, or whatever. I'm a kitchen nerd. So, you know, I'm a little nutrition nerd girl. So that floats my boat. But it, you know, if it's something that you want, you can have everybody, you know, contribute to help you get it. Now, I want to show you my cookbook so you have an idea of what is in store. And there was something else I wanted to tell you. And I thought about it when I looked over there, and now I'm looking and I can't think of it. So let me go grab that.
I think while Timaree's grabbing that, I was just going to comment. I think for me, like when I had approached Gwen and I was like, I really want to be healthy. I was really scared. Like I just didn't think it was attainable that I could do it, which is weird because I totally know how to cook. Like I had grown up cooking. Just in my head, there was something that like was blocking me. Like, oh, I don't know how to be healthy. Or it was really intimidating. Like, oh, it's expensive. And oh, I need all of these tools. And I have to say, eating healthy has been the cheapest experience of my life. I've like paid off bills with the excess money I've saved from eating healthy and not eating out and all the time. And you really don't need a lot. Like Timaree was saying, like you need a couple staple appliances that, yeah, you might have to save up for. Like Gwen got a lot of her appliances refurbished. So they're cheaper. But once you kind of have your little staple, you can do so much and it's so easy and so worth it.
Oh, it is. My students save money, money, money. And if you go to my website, I even did a whole series called The Excusitarian. So to go from an excusitarian to a doer, and we took all those excuses, too expensive, don't know how to cook, I'm not unhealthy, all those things. And I even did podcasts with a friend of mine who's a plant-based cardiologist and endurance athlete out of Florida. So Dr. Jamie. So you have all those resources to play with. This, when I said mason jars, this is a quart size, but this is what I'm talking about, right? That you have these reusable jars with the lid. So they're excellent. And you don't have to worry about plastic and, you know, all of that. And they freeze. You just want to make sure that you leave, so whatever volume you have, you stop it at the first thread so that when you put something in the freezer, it expands and doesn't crack the jar or, you know, overflow. So last thing, the Foodie Bar way. So this is my cookbook because I wanted my students to be able to, because they always say, can we go home with you? No. Can you go home with us? No. So this is how we do it. So I provided them with these ideas, and I figured I should just, you know, make it so that they can actually take it home with them. So I put this Foodie Bar together as 32 different bars where you set out all the ingredients, or in your mind you have all these options, and then you mix and match. So every bar has a basic bar for no time, no money, no experience, and then a raising the bar for when you want a little bit more, just maybe ingredients that you wouldn't normally think to use, or if it's something where you have to make it. So for example, loaded potato bar, you could just use a can of beans and I tell you, you know, what to look for. Or on the raising the bar side, you make my seasoned black beans, which are in the book. You know what I mean? Like something like that. So you buy salsa or you make salsa, or, you know, certain ingredients you may not have thought about adding are here. So you just play. And then you keep track. What were your combinations that you loved? Who loved it? Where'd you set this up? These make great parties, because it doesn't matter how you eat. Everybody can find options that work for them. And then for every bar, I have an example of how I would do that bar, like how I would load up my own potato. It's just one example. The ideas are endless, right? So then it goes to pizza, or this is pasta and how we do pasta, and all kinds of ideas about making your own nachos. So the whole book has 32 bars and 94 recipes to support those bars. Every one of them has a recipe, or a picture, and my students just love it. They cook right through, and they have all kinds of options, and they're easy staples that makes everybody, doesn't matter, like I said, what they're eating, everybody can find a combination. But there's so many resources on my website to give you ideas about, and a lot of the recipes in here I do on TV, showing how to do this. So it's just, it's so much fun because people are changing their health. And Gwen can talk a little bit about
really quickly, thank you ladies for sticking with us. It means a lot, and I hope you gained a lot from Timaree. She's definitely changed my life and have helped me change others. So yeah, I just want to say that her book, I feel like I am one of her students in a way. Like she said, we sat next to each other. She changed my life just by talking to her on a plane. And this book really brings a different perspective to what you thought food was, I guess you could say. I know that Casey had a great group of friends at her workplace, and
I was just going to make you tell this story. Go.
Yeah, the nachos reminded me. And we made Timaree's nacho bar with her cheesy sauce and all that. We raised the bar. We had every single topping you could imagine. And we had just totally regular American diet people come over, and first of all, they walked into our little apartment and they smelled the cauliflower lentil topping, and they were like, what is this? There's no way that this isn't me. And they were just like amazed. They're like, what did you put in that cheesy sauce? What? Oats? And they were totally just,
some people did not even know that it was healthy. Like people who came in the party later and were eating, and then all of a sudden they were like, wait a second, what is this? Did you buy like crazy good Velveeta, or did you buy like some crazy seasoned beef? And I was like, no, it's lentils and cauliflower and like a bell pepper and and like their minds were blown. Mm-hmm. And we to the point where we honestly started letting them play guess the seed.
What's in this jar.
What's in the jar of our houses, because we keep all of our food in mason jars.
And they still ask us when we're going to do a next nacho bar. So I just want to let you guys know that it's so doable, it's easy, and it's affordable, and it's also fun. I was never into cooking until I started trying these new recipes and got some really simple spices in my cabinet and started to play with them, and it became really fun. And I give a lot of that credit to Timaree. And thank you so much for talking to these girls, because I wish I would have known all this when I was your age. But so
me too.
And I have to comment just on like the price of healthy food. Gwen and I, if you watched video 6 of our healthy video editions, you saw that we went to Europe, well, as long as we could until we got kicked back because of COVID. I was always afraid to travel because of the money. I never thought I would be able to do those things in life because I just have never had a lot of access to money. Come to find out, we were living cheaper and eating healthier while abroad than we even were in our little apartment in LA that I had got when I was attending school there, kind of a deal. So I'm just hoping this all opens your mind about like how you're eating food, how you're spending your money on food, and all those kinds of things. Because there's so much to think about as you like enter this world where like eventually you're going to be buying your groceries, not your mom and dad anymore, Yeah.
And remember that idea that the money is made with the packaged food. So that's what's going to get marketed to you. So you're not going to see commercials for broccoli and apples and all these foods that are not, have this huge margin, where they're making money on it. And you're never going to see ads for broccoli, because if a farmer put money into an ad, there's no way you're going to buy that farmer's broccoli. You're just going to go to the market and buy broccoli. But when, Carl's Jr. talks about their $6 burger, you can't go to Taco Bell for that. You got to go to Carl's Jr. So that's, one of the reasons why we see such targeted marketing by those companies. But you don't need that. I mean, people can market to you guys cigarettes all day long, and you're like, I don't smoke. I don't do it. And so when you make a decision like that about the food, when it's really just, it's just not food to me. I ask my students, and then I have to go, I'm like going crazy. I have so much to do, but I ask my students at the end of the semester, what are NMFs for them? NMF. N is not my food. So what did they used to think that they used to eat, like cow's milk? A lot of my students, I grew up drinking cow's milk until I realized it was for baby cows. But, you know, again, marketing, we grow up in school, milk for your is good for your body, all this stuff, but that's marketing. But I ask them, you know, what are things you don't eat anymore? And they say, oh, I used to think that Gatorade was something to drink. I used to think cow's milk was something to drink. I used to think cow cheese was something to eat. It's not my food. And this is kind of a nasty little example, but hopefully it sticks in your brain. I ask my students often if anybody eats dog poop. And they look at me and they're like, you've really lost it now, woman, you know? And I say, well, I don't either, but my dog sometimes does. And so, but I don't consider dog poop food, just like, you know, I don't consider cow milk food. So it doesn't matter how much I market it to, I'm not going to eat the dog poop, and I'm not going to eat, you know, the cow's milk and the others, you know, junky stuff. So don't feel like you have to eat whatever's out there. You get to make those choices, and you get to protect your own body, especially as you get older and you're on your own, you're doing your own shopping and you're doing all of that. You have agency to be able to say, I don't want that in my body. And so, or I want this in my body. So you just feel strong inside, no matter what other people are doing out there. You girls have already shown so much strength for what you've brought yourself, you know, to your today with. It takes so much determination to navigate this world against all of the forces of just, oh, just watch video games, don't do your homework. Oh, just come and do this, don't do that. Oh, you know, take drugs, I mean, we're all exposed to so many things, and you've said, no, my future is important, leadership is important, I am, you know, gonna take care of my choices, and you need to continue doing that and supporting those choices with your own health. Let that, that strength that you have also apply to your nutrition health, because you can have and you will have fantastic lives, but money, as you know, doesn't make happiness. So what we want is the healthiest body. There was a quote that said, healthy people have unlimited wishes. Unhealthy people have one. You know, and it's really true, because when you're not healthy and you can't do your life, then everything is about what can I do? And the next medication's not going to do it. So we can proactively make these choices today and every day. It's your every day that counts. That is going to end up with you having a body that's going to match that mind and spirit of yours that is unstoppable.
I love it. I'm going to cry.
Well, thank you, Timaree. I feel like this was so wonderful. We had a lot of the husbands had college orientation, and a couple of the girls had orientations for their school that starts on Monday, so they had to go, but everyone thought it was super helpful, and we really used the whole thing so they can see the rest of the ending.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
All right. My love to everybody. Take care.
Yeah,
Thank
that helped a
you.
lot.
Bye.
Thank you.
Girls, if you have questions for Gwen or I, we can answer them, but otherwise, thank you all so much. And Timaree, thank you so much. And girls, use those resources. I'm already like, oh, making this for my dad, making this for my mom, so it's gonna be great.
Yep. Share by making food. People want to taste. Most people, all they'll ask for is the recipe. They won't say, oh, where's the unhealthy ingredients? They'll just taste it and go, oh, do you have the recipe for that? So spread the love.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Timaree.
Bye. Thank you.
Alrighty, girls, we're pretty much done. Unless, do any of you have any questions for Gwen or I? Gwen or I? No? All right. Well, thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, I hope.
yeah, I think it was great. Bye, girls. We will see you next time.
Hi, Gwen. Hi, Casey.
Hi, Isabella.
Love you.
Love you too. I'm glad you enjoyed the videos.
Yeah. I don't know if everyone got a chance to watch them or not, but
I'm not sure, and I actually went through them last night, and I don't like the edit. I'm re-editing some of them for the website.
Oh, hey, that's fine.
I loved them.
Do you have any questions, or are you just hanging out? Nope. I don't know. Julia, do you have any questions, or are you just hanging?
Yeah, no, I was just seeing what Isabella was there. I also just want to say thank you so much for having this and stuff. I think like a lot of people, like eating healthy is like a major thing. I think like I started like to like visualize and like started to implement more in my life, like from, I don't know, age like 12 maybe I started eating healthier, and it just like makes a significant difference just how you view things and how you feel, and just like how like it just changes a lot.
Your question reminded me. So you will never meet anyone who eats more food than Gwen. Hands down. It's not possible. Like, no. I lived with her for a long time.
I eat so much.
Like, that's what I loved about like switching my lifestyle from like eating crap to eating healthy is like, I don't know.
You can eat a lot.
Family is like rather